Hello, my name is Min Shen, and this is my assignment 3 game development video report on my Unity game I Am Alien. So, introduction to my game is that this game is a 2D platformer with a gravity switching mechanic. So basically, you play as an alien in a spaceship, and you're trying to take control over the spaceship by eating some humans along the way, and maybe reaching the end goal and taking over the spaceship. So this is a very simple 2D platformer game where the player can either choose to be incredibly fast in completing the level or complete the level by eating every single human on the spaceship. So moving on to the game menu, here in the game menu scene, we'll start the game. So in the main menu, you can hear that there's some background music. This is consistent throughout the whole game. And to give the player some tutorial or some ways to know how to play the game, there's a question mark at the bottom right corner of the game. Bottom right corner over here, I enlarged it. So if you press it, you'll get some control. A and D to move left and right, W to jump, press space to flip the gravity, avoid danger like your spikes or laser traps, and eat humans along the way to gain points. So you can click resume to close it, and we can start the game now. So we can hear that there's a separate music track, and on the top section of the screen we can see that there's a humans aid UI. So you can see that there's a maximum of 20 humans in this spaceship, and that is the scoring system for this game. And as you can see in the bottom left, you can see that there's a timer that tracks how long it takes for the player to complete the level. So we move around, jump, and once we contact with the player, we plays a sound. It plays a sound like a little thing, and it feeds back to the player that they have ate a human. So we flip gravity, and yeah, the gameplay progression is basically progressing through the levels by flipping gravity and basically moving to avoid these traps. And if we accidentally hit one of these traps, it will play a hurt sound. The third sound there over there. Yeah. And as you can see on the top left corner on the health bar, there's a passive regeneration. So this is like a leniency thing that allows the player to heal over time if they are maybe struggling with the level. This is well balanced with the timer at the bottom as it regenerates 1 health per second. So meaning that the longer it takes the player to complete the level, the more health they might regen, but that might also mean that they have a worse timing. So here we have the laser trap. It moves and is a different type of damage object from the spikes, as the spikes is a static object that the player can just collide into. However, this laser, it actually moves, which may impede the player's movement throughout this level. So it's another type of progression that this game provides. So as we go and complete this level over here, taking some damage along the way. And we can also see that the gravity flipping has no cooldown at all, which means that the player can fly with the character with enough timing and so on. Yeah, now the player drops down, has to avoid some hidden spikes. And we see more of these moving traps. And now the player wins, and the win sound is activated. So now we can either restart to play the game again, or main menu to go back to the main menu. So I'll press restart and show you the pause button or the menu button. So this button can pause the game and restart, either restart the game to send you back to the start, or either resume to let you keep on playing the game. It can also send you back to the main menu also. So that is basically it for the game segment. And now shall cover the script section of this game. So moving on to the script section of the game. So firstly, we have the player script. This is the main script which dictates a lot of things, a lot of the player's movement, a lot of the player's health, move speed, jump power, all those stuff. So in this code, I used a horizontal axis movement system, which moves the player along the axis, either when they press A or D. And I use the input get key down old input system to let the player input the jump button, the gravity flip button, so on and so forth. And in this fix update, this is for the physics of the player. It checks whether the player is grounded or not by using an empty object. And moving on with the animation part of the player script. So this basically plays the animations that the player would be doing when they're jumping, when they're in the air, or when they're moving, or when they're idle and so forth. So these animations I will show later when we are going into the animation section. The next part is the damage part of the script. Whenever the player collides with a game object that has a damage tag, they minus a certain amount of health, which can be changed, I think. Yeah. Along these codes, we have also some audio sources, and it allows the person that's in the inspector to change what sound that the player plays when they are hit by an object. So you can see this duplicated across multiple things like the wind sound. This is a very common part of code. So moving on with the add coins function, uh, which also helps play the sound when the player collects the coins, which are humans in this case. And this is the flip gravity function. So this function basically flips the player's gravity, and along that flips the sprite, which makes it look like the player is actually flipped in the gameplay. And then it inverts the ground check so that we can make the ground check to be at the player's feet when it's flipped in this case. So basically, imagine an imaginary empty object in the bottom of the player's feet, and when you press space, the even though the game object is like the same, the ground check is flipped to the top, and the player's ground check is like on top of here. So moving on from the player script, we have the health regen script. This is a very simple coroutine script that regenerates the player's health by 1 every single second. So this uses interval to basically add 1 health every single time this code's run. And this is very similar to the timing script. So at the start of the time script, we have a time scale line over here. This is when the player reloads into the scene, and if the scene is paused, automatically reset the time scale to normal speed to make sure that the time is accurate and starts counting whenever the player is inside the game. So basically, yeah, this is the coroutine sections of my scripts. So moving on to the human coins, collectible objects. So these are basically moving objects that I use a shared code that transforms their positions from one point to another point. Those points are empty objects that I created as a child of the actual human. And then basically there are two set points in the scene. This is point one and this is point two. Basically the object moves in between the points, basically creating movements. And when the object moves to a certain point, it tries to flip the x-axis to make it move left and right, so on and so forth. As you can see in this flip x function. This is very similar to the player script where the player flips x when either moving left or right. As you can see here, the flip sprite horizontally based on moving direction comment up here. And yeah, another part of this object is the coin system or scoring system. So this basically allows the player to have one more coin or one more point to the total tally on the top of the canvas when you play the game. So let's play the game and see the menu on top. So basically that part of the code allows the score to go up by 1. And yeah, this is what makes that score tally over the thing over the period of the game. So moving on to the moving platform code, this is extremely similar to the human.cs code where the container of the moving platform moves from left to right based on empty point. And this is another part of the code. This code sets the player as a parent. So it allows the player to basically move with the platform instead of without the platform. So in the game, when you land on the platform over here, you're moving with the platform instead of independently, like without the platform having any collision or moving you around. This code basically allows that thing to happen by making the player as a parent and basically making the moving platform their child, so they are grouped up together and they move together. And the rest of the codes are mainly damage codes in the player, as I just recall just now. The moving lasers in this game, they are actually using the moving platform code reused. So I have to code another code for the moving lasers. They are It allows me to smartly reuse the scripts. So for the rest of the codes is just using scene loaders when you restart the game, and yeah, basically pausing the game when you press a button and setting the time scale to 0, or making the game back to normal when you press the resume button. So let me share what the tutorial menu does. So basically, there's a container that is unchecked at the beginning, and basically when you press the container button, the container is ticked to appear on the screen, and the game is paused. And when you finish reading the tutorial, the container is unticked back to its original state, and the flow of the time of the game is re is reverted to normal. So that is basically it for the scripts of the game. So moving on really fast, I have two main scenes. These scenes are the main menu scene and the game scene. So when you press start, it basically transfers you from the main menu to the game scene, and when you press return to the main menu, it does the opposite. So for the assets, we have sprites mainly from the Unity asset store and itch.io for the game tiles. For the audio part of this project, I mainly got audio from itch.io, which is in the asset attribution. So what I did was I dragged the audio to the script that I made in the player.cs, and that's basically where the script where the audio comes from. And yeah, and for my characters and prefabs, I have the player with regenerated health, and the normal player, moving platform, and the moving damage object. Idle human, which basically stands around, and a running human, which moves from one point to another. So for the animations, uh, I have used mainly 3 animations for my player object. Uh, it is mainly the idle animation when you stand still, the walk animation, and the in-air animation, which also serves as a jump animation, is inside the sprite section of the character assets. So critiquing my game, I really like how the game is simple and easy to play. The player will be able to grasp the objects of the game and how to play it. However, I really don't like the game because not I don't like the cons of the game are is that it is quite short, and the player might lose some of that replayability value once they have completed the game at the fastest they have, or maybe they complete the game by collecting all the humans. So to solve this, I might add more levels, or I might add a replayable difficulty mode where the player has less health, or where the player has no regeneration or anything. Another critique I have for the cons of the game is that the gravity flipping has no cooldown, which may allow the player to do some weird things or make the game way too easy. So I might add a cooldown, maybe like 1 second or 0.5 seconds, to make gravity flipping have more effect or weight to it, so the player doesn't just flip around randomly, enabling them to fly. So yeah, that's basically it for the cons of the games that I think, and what are the improvements that I think that I should add. Thank you for coming to the end of my video submission. I hope that this provided you more insight into how my scripts enable my game to be played and made, and how I and the thought process of my game development. Yeah, bye bye.